60-year-old Rayful Edmond died of a heart attack. It is very, very odd that he had no children, even being locked up by 24. Just like I said with the other guys passing, this is the end. What's up, everybody? It's your girl Octavia, and I am back with another video. My apologies for the distance. You can see right here, right now, what my skin is doing: hyperpigmentation, eczema, acne. But I'm here. I'm here. It's 2025. I've been hiding under a rock for quite a few weeks, and I'm glad that this is my pop out. Today, we are all gathered here to talk about Rayful Edmond, and specifically, we are here to talk about his passing. So, before I get into that, let me introduce myself for those who may not know me. My name is Octavia. I was born and raised in Washington, D.C., still in Washington, D.C., 28, and this here is what I do. Now, I'm thinking about putting all of the street legend videos together in one playlist so I can just point folks to a certain direction. But I think I have a Rayful Edmond playlist on my channel, but I'm not really sure. Don't quote me. We are here to talk about Rayful Edmond, and I have to say this because I kept putting this video off, and that doesn't mean that I didn't record it. I recorded this video 3 separate times. This is the 4th time. I recorded this video 3 separate times, and even though in some of them I made better points than I did in others, the whole look of it was wrong. It was wrong. I'm like, girl, this is the end of 2024, and it can't look like this. So we will be talking about the ins and outs of Rayful Edmond's passing, what we know, and what the streets is just talking about. I will address conspiracies that are already coming into play, and I'll just give my thoughts and my conclusion on it. Just like I said with the other guys passing, this is the end. You know, after this video and after the autopsy come out, especially because I'm gonna get my hands on that, especially after all of these things happen, this is the end. You know, this is how it ends. The former drug kingpin passed away December 17th, nearly a month prior to him celebrating his birthday on November 26th. So first, I seen a lot of small DMV blogs who was reporting on Rayful's passing, but until his family spoke out, nobody knew for sure. That next morning, December the 18th, Rayful's brother confirmed Rayful's passing via a news channel. People who have a certain reputation have experienced good and bad rumors. And when I say good, it might be stuff to make them feel cool about what they did. When I say bad, I mean that some people come out with death hoaxes that they want people to believe. Some people do believe, and whole time the guy or the gal that it's about is not even dead. So until Rayful's brother came out, I didn't know if it was pure speculation or real. It has been reported that 60-year-old Rayful Edmond died of a heart attack. And of course, the world or his family, social media, society won't know for sure until the autopsy comes back. But that is what is being reported. I was surprised by the news of his passing, but I really had to think about it. How does a seemingly healthy and fit older guy have a heart attack? And people would say, well, you just said it, he's an older guy. But it's levels to it. And even though my conclusion will be surrounded around stress, it's way deeper than stress. Not too many people have been in the position of Rayful, meaning to never have a 9 to 5. From the time that you was a teenager to your 20s, you were making illegal money, and it worked. For some people, they just be a low-level criminal or a low-level dealer their whole life. Not too many people can say that what they did worked. They were very successful in it, making loads and loads of money with blood on it. Blood, sweat, and tears from the streets. To go from where he was to being released as a 59-year-old man, he would be stumped on how to make legal money. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that anybody in his position cannot come out and make a success off of their story. I'm not saying that a person who has done as much time as he has cannot come out and make legal money and an honest living, but it is not likely. Sammy the Bull turned on the mob, got out in 5 years, and started dealing drugs. When all you know is the streets, that's what you end up falling back on. So it's either you make a plan to do something legal, really, really do it legally, or you go back to what you knew. And that is expected. And it's not just expected because we're talking about a felon. It's expected because it has happened time and time again in history. Rayful's life has taught a lot of people valuable lessons. And I think that his death should teach people the same, if not more valuable lessons. I've seen people say, well, I bet he regrets snitching now. Honestly, I feel like he should regret the action that it took for him to get locked up in the first place. And what was that? Drug dealing to a high capacity. Relationships with the cartel, making it possible for them to infiltrate the East Coast. I'm sure a lot of people, with the shame that snitching carries, they regret that. They probably wouldn't take it back per se, but they probably regret it in a sense where they messed up relationships with people that never would have expected him to make that type of decision. I think that any person that turns state's evidence would have some type of regret, because everybody pretty much turns their back on you. And just as you seen in that airport video, how many friends he have there? How many people did he trust to be there? 2? And how many people that is released from jail, such as him, a person with a big name, who wouldn't want the whole city out there like you the fucking mayor in this New Jack City? I can bet my last dollar that even being in the airport, he wanted an audience. He wanted a fucking parade. None of it is worth it. But the main thing that fucks them all up, and whether you get out for good behavior or you get out for snitching, it'll be after several decades. Most of your family will pass away before that time comes. And the reality of it is, once you get out, you either have time to create more problems for yourself, or you have time, just enough time, to build something for you to stand on legitimately. For Rayful's sake, I hope that with the type of time that he did write out some memoirs and some shit like that for his sake. You know, maybe his brother can do something with his notes. I'm not sure. But I've always been raised to know that karma comes in threes. This rule is the rule of three. It states whatever energy a person puts out into the world, be it positive or negative, will be returned to that person 3 times. And I can tell you what Rayful's 3 is. Number 1, his karma is not having any biological children who could pass on a positive torch. A son or daughter who could carry the Edmond name in a positive manner. I thought I was tripping. A few weeks ago, I was thinking about it, and I was like, I never heard anybody say anything about him having children. I've never heard him, Rayful himself, say anything about him having children. You know, while a lot of people can attest to their father spending most of their lives behind bars because of what the fathers did, right? And how they turned out because of it, but not having any children. It was a gift in some people's eyes. To me, it's a curse. Because while it is painful growing up without your father and knowing that he is being confined and caged and things to that nature. And don't get me wrong, I do understand that sometimes within generation to generation, things end up getting glorified and children start to make the same mistakes as their father or as their mother. We can't be biased in this, right? But it is very, very odd that he had no children. Even being locked up by 24, it has always been a thing with black men to have multiple children by the age of 24. Number 2 would definitely be Rayful being okay with his family being involved in a criminal enterprise, and specifically his criminal enterprise. That's something that you should never do. Both of his parents had good government jobs, and even today people say, oh, I work as a surgeon and that's not even enough money to do X, Y, and Z. But greed was the reason for it all. And the person that starts it has to make it sound glamorous, has to really put fucking glitter and crystals on shit. Make it sound and look good. When you see the effect of DC now, and of course, Rayful's family, all of them was grown. It wasn't like, you know, he was raising children up into the criminal enterprise. That's something that he would have done, though, if I'm just being honest. That's why I say it's a gift and a curse that he didn't have kids, because he's the very person that had a basketball league for young men, and several young men on that very roster was killers for him under his thumb. Whenever he gave you a head nod, that's what it would be, and they would take action. They might have been damn good basketball players, but the whole organization was fraudulent, and it was a front for what he was really doing. And a person like Rayful, even if he did have chest pains and things to that nature in the past 30 years, he would never tell nobody. He wouldn't tell nobody that. He would still come on camera with a big ass smile, like nothing has happened. So number 2, you know, while it is a blessing that he didn't raise children or have really, really small kids be a witness to what he was doing and what people around him was doing, to have nothing. He is a man that literally left this world with nothing. Nothing. but his past reputation before snitching. If anybody who still fuck with Rayful, they fuck with Rayful before he snitched. And nobody is going to, it's going to be more people that rejoice over his death rather than come out and pay their respects. I think that a lot of people will grieve him, but they will grieve him in private because of what he did. I think that, honestly, I hope he gets cremated because you never know the level that people is going to go to. Like, grave digging, I'm sure, is still very real. They will desecrate that whole fucking grave. But a person like him would want something big. They would want a huge fucking headstone. Rayful, Edmond, whatever, quote that you can use and things like that. I could foreshadow it getting fucked over. And then, and only then, can he come back to DC and get spread all over the streets that he walked. That's the only time that it would have happened smoothly. That's the only time. And number 3, as we can see with his death, of course, we can wait maybe a year or so to see if any projects come out, if he was, writing some things or memoir of a sort, of some kind, right? But I think that a lot of people held their breath with waiting on something from Alpo, waiting on some type of project from him, a book, an interview. And he was out free, out of witness protection. He came back to New York. He was there for quite a few months. It wasn't very long, but it was quite a few months. And he didn't do nothing. He didn't do shit but stand on the blocks that he was raised on, smiling for pictures and videos like you some mayor. I bet you in them moments he definitely felt like motherfucking New Jack City. And people fed into it. People was really out there happy as hell to see him, that he's around, that he's right here next to them. And the thing about Alpo is, I think that intentionally, he wanted to take pictures with a lot of people and be, put on video and put on camera to show that in person, it's not that type of tension. Whatever people was talking about is not that type of tension. And he like, oh yeah, you want a picture? Okay. You want to talk to me? Okay, put this on video. This person is not thinking about me snitching. The same goes for Rayful. Even though he only had just a few people at the airport, some folks showed up. I think that he expected more. But what is there? An interview with Diane Sawyer. And then there are multiple, maybe thousands of documentaries about you. I just thought that there would be something else. I thought that in 34 years, you have to create something. You can't just stand around smiling. You can't just be working out, not thinking about what you're going to do when you get out, if you get out. I don't really think that he had a plan. I think that for a long time, they kept his release at bay, and he stopped thinking about it. He stopped thinking about what he was going to do if and when he got out. And that's why I said I feel like he was stumped. You know, when you have an encounter with the police and you kind of being like, you real amped up, right? And they say you too excited, you know? And that's basically a way to say you need to calm down. I feel like people take the word excited and they make it into something positive. Being excited in a negative sense means you are overly anxious. You are both apprehensive but determined with no target. I really don't think that he built a plan or wrote a book in that entire 34-year bid. I just really don't think so. You got to anticipate your release in a better way. And that's to everybody that's fighting something. Anticipate your release. Especially if on the back end you doing everything that you have to do to represent yourself, to help your case. You got to move like you don't have time. You got to move like the clock is running out. And I think that even people that get to the age of 60 feel like it's more time to do X, Y, and Z when you got to have several plans. And in 34 years, you better have a plan A to Z and detail them motherfuckers because you got time to do it. But the reality is that a lot of people who do long bids end up bullshitting. Either you talking on the phone or you talking to other motherfuckers that are just wasting your time every day. Just like Alpo, since we mentioning him, I think that Rayful went in as a 24-year-old man and he still had that same mindset with a 60-year-old's heart. That's what I believe. I probably would have more faith in somebody else to be on the straight and narrow once they get out of prison. But with him specifically, like, this is a person that was still well connected with the cartel and was still drug dealing behind bars. And he could say, because a dead man tells no lies, right? He could say that it was because of his mom. He wanted his mom to be free, that he told, but it was only after his connect with the cartel, being Griselda Blanco's son, getting executed. And if it wasn't for his partners, his henchmen, the men that worked under him, not giving him his appropriate cut, he wouldn't have flipped. And people like to blame others. And even if that's a fact, it's still not good enough. Because it wasn't worth it. People who have done worse have gotten out in less time. So, still doing 34 while turning your back on your whole city. And still saying, I'm back. God was like, no, the fuck you're not. No, you're not. You're not back. And again, he can't come back unless he's in one of them urns. That's it. Because if they shot Cameron for playing Alpo, he was just an actor playing a damn role. If they gonna shoot Cameron, this was his best bet, because if he didn't pass away, I could see him coming back one day and still acting as if he is Nino Brown. And what happens in the end? You tell me. Going out natural causes was his best bet. And a lot of people they want to make it, you know, to at least 80, 90, and then some shit like that happen where it's like, okay, they lived a long life. He had to be beside himself when the soul leaves the body, and then the soul can look at the fucking body. What did you do all this for? Never could make a comeback. And that's just God. DC is stuck in a time frame. And a lot of people that survived those times, they are forever changed. Addicts. Some you can't even recognize. People who just stand around and there is no motion and no rhyme or reason why anybody is just out there.